Alright, welcome back everybody to the FJ40 project. We are going to try to get it started in this video, so hopefully we can get that to happen. We got quite a bit to do. We need to start getting some oil in there, run the distributor or the oil pump to get all that going. We have to rebuild the carburetor, we have to get the manifold cleaned up and back on there. The side cover we gotta get put back on there. We just got a lot to do, so let's get to it. Alright, let's get some oil in this thing. This one still has the chain and original oil cap too. So I did what I should have done and bought the cheapest motor oil I could find. 10W40. I figured that would probably be fine for this. Let's get this in here. Good enough. Found my dipstick back, so we'll put that in here and see where we're at. We are over full, but there isn't any oil in this engine at all, so should be fine. Oh darn, I dripped some oil. It's gonna get all dirty. Can't have that. Alright, so I found a chisel that fits down in there and is also long enough. So we are going to put that down in the distributor hole where the oil pump goes. Hopefully I have it spinning the right direction. But now, once we start doing this, we should see oil coming up. It'll come up through this tube here and then through all of the rocker arms. Oh, I see some. It's happening. It's happening. See? It's coming out there. Finally. Wow, that took a long time. It's dripping pretty much everywhere now. That just took way longer than I thought it should. It does look like it's getting all the way out to the ends as well. And you can see, after it comes up here, it drips down the push rods, and then it gets on the lifters at the bottom there. So it's pooling up there, it's gonna start coming out. But then it just runs off of that into those other little cavities there, and then it goes back down into the oil pan. That's really all we need to do though. Oil's running everywhere, so that's all that really matters. So now we need to get the side cover on, get the valve cover on, and then we need to get the carburetor rebuilt. Alright, we got our new side cover gasket here. It's a cork gasket, so gonna try to get that put on here. So I just wanted to show you what I'm dealing with here. This valve cover gasket is so tight on here. This side, the notches for one don't line up with the bolts where they should. And then in the back, it's wrapped around there so tight. I mean, it's kind of loose here, but when you pull it to where it needs to be, it's so tight that I don't know how I'm going to get the gasket on there and then put the cover on, because it just does not want to stay. The valve cover, I put the new gaskets right here where the bolts go through, but the valve cover does have like a little ledge here that the gasket's supposed to sit in, but even if I put it on this side first, there's no way to hold it. So I really don't know what to do. Alright, so all I've got to say about this cork gasket is it's junk. I could not get it to fit on there, so I started stretching. I heated it up and I started stretching it, and I got this side actually to where it was close. And then I started stretching this side and it broke on me because there's like thinner parts on here. So I don't know how this is supposed to work, but that's garbage. So I'll have to find some other gasket for that. I don't know if they make just a silicone gasket for that, but the cork one is just terrible to try to put on. If it was the right size, it'd be fine, but it's not, and I'm over it, so we'll figure that out later. Right now, I'm gonna start working on this carburetor, get it all cleaned up and fixed. I'm going to start with this right here. This shaft is seized in here, so we need to get that freed up or else it obviously won't work. Alright, so what I ended up having to do, you can see I got all freed up now. I ended up, it was this part over here that was stuck so bad. So I got in the vise, I actually heated the cast iron part up around this shaft here. And I just hammered on this until it started breaking free. And then I put some penetrating fluid down in there as well, and then just worked it back and forth. And I finally got freed up. So it should be fine. Now next we got to get all these tiny little passageways cleared up. There's probably not going to be able to see them, but down in here there's like 3 or 4 little holes on each one, and they go through these holes here and other places like these here and stuff too. So we need to get all of those, make sure all of those are cleared out. Alright, so I got this carburetor cleaned up as good as I can. I can't get any of this black stuff off here. It's not the best, but it'll work. And then, yeah, all these parts are all cleaned out. I blew air in every single little spot I could find. This is freed up now, working really good. I took these out and then just put them back in because I didn't want to lose anything. So yeah, everything seems to be good. So now I have my kit, my gasket set, and I got this from mikescarb.com. I'm not sponsored or anything, but they had a lot of different kits for these carburetors. So yeah, and they seem like they're very good kits. They come with pretty much anything you could possibly need, and yeah, they just seem really nice. So we'll see how well they are once I get this on here, but I don't know if this is actually the correct kit for this carburetor. I basically, since I didn't have a tag on the carburetor, I just had to go based off of their pictures. So I'm really hoping I have all the gaskets I need, and it seems like they add a lot of different types of each gasket in here just in case you get the wrong one or something. But yeah, so let's see what we got. So this one I think is for the base that goes right here. And before there was a really thick one on the bottom, so it makes sense that it's more of like an insulator gasket, I would say. So that one I definitely need. This is the new accelerator pump, so that one I'll need. It's replacement for this, so I'm gonna need to get this spring and move it over, but that's fine. So I'll need that. This is the main gasket, which is this here. And it looks perfect, so we'll need that one. Now we got a couple of different ones here. They're a little different. I'm pretty sure I need this one here because it's what goes on this, so I'm pretty sure it's this one. Yeah, so that's the one I need there. And then yeah, these are just if you had one of the other ones, which this one would probably work honestly, but it's definitely not the one I had. So we're gonna go with the one I had, which is this one. So we'll use that one, and these two we will not use, so I'm gonna put those back in the bag so we don't get them mixed up. This is for setting it, I assume. Float valve and stuff, and seat, and some gaskets, so we'll definitely need those. I don't know what I would need it for. No, I don't need that. That one I definitely do not need. I don't think I need either of these, honestly, because I have that one for the bottom, and then I'll have this one that goes here. So I don't think I need either of these, unless these are like, yeah, these are for this. If you had a different one that was supposed to be under here, I bet. But neither of mine were this. I'm going to use that other one, so I won't need either of these. There's a bunch of little gaskets and two little ball, like metal balls in here, but I didn't see anything like that. These little gaskets I never saw in here. If we're putting them back together and we need one, we can always get them back out. But I think these are all we're gonna need here. Alright, we got the carburetor all put back together. I figured out the linkages. I actually had to go back in my other video and look how the linkages were. Got the choke up here working. Throttle is over here, and you spin this. And then over here is also a throttle, but this is for like a throttle hold cable. So I'm probably not going to hook this up, but I will probably hook this up eventually, but not right now. I'm actually probably not going to hook any of that stuff up because the cables are not any good anyway, so it's basically just going to be like this on there when we get it all put back together. But this should be good and ready to go back on. What I need to do now before we can get the manifolds put back on, one, I need to still clean them up, haven't done that yet, but I found something that I can put on these low spots to make the surface better, and I can come back with a file and file it smooth. It is for obviously very high temperature stuff, welds holes and cracks in iron and steel. So it's used on exhaust manifolds, catalytic converters, mufflers, all that kind of stuff. It can be drilled, tapped, filed, planed, sanded, and painted. Like, it's just made to basically fill in cracks and holes and stuff and cast iron and stuff. So that's what we're going to use, and hopefully it'll work out fine. It's not going to hurt anything, so if it keeps it from leaking, that'd be nice. So I just figured I'd try it. Worst case scenario, it starts leaking. Whatever. Alright, as you can see, this stuff is pretty thick and chunky. It's not really chunky, but it's thick. So I am just going to rub it on here where it needs to be. It says you can actually go pretty thick with it, but I don't think we need to go that thick. So I was thinking maybe we should look at this distributor a little bit. It's missing the O-ring that goes around there, so that's not the best. But let's crack this open and see what we got. Wow, that's actually really clean in there. That's nice to see. This is not a factory distributor, I can already tell that. So I'm pretty sure the contacts for this are completely gone. This is completely out of adjustment. I doubt this condenser works. But yeah, when you rotate this, it just barely moves those points. I don't think those actually are even separating at all. That's crazy. So you can see what I'm dealing with. The other end was just spinning, it just had a little notch in it. But the threads are all messed up on this as well. So hopefully I can find another like bolt or something that's this size. I'll have to go look for that tomorrow. I can reuse this insulator, but that's going to need to be replaced. Got the points out so we can take these and see if I can find new ones of this as well. Alright, Everything else looks fine. I'm gonna get this cleaned up so we can read it better. And bam, like new. I'm gonna need to see if I can find maybe what this originally was on, or if it's aftermarket. Maybe I can find like a point set for this actual distributor, and we will go from there. But this cleaned up really nice, which is nice. It looks galvanized, so makes sense. So we'll get this cap. Actually looks perfectly fine, so we're gonna try to reuse that, clean up the outside a little bit because it looks disgusting. The rest of the distributor, I probably could take this apart. I really don't want to take that apart though, for our purposes. Probably just wipe it out good and it'll be okay. Alright, so this is where we're at. I got the cap cleaned up, looks like new. I got a new set of points right here. So those should work good. And I also got a new condenser. Came with the bracket that looks exactly the same as well, and then a new condenser. So we should be good to go. I didn't get a new rotor because this one looks fine, so we're just going to deal with that. So we should be able to put all this back together, and hopefully that'll work. Oh, and also the screw that goes through the housing, I found quite a few that should work, so I'm going to make something work with what I have here. And that's pretty much that. And then we're going to use one of these coils. I think this coil was the one that was hooked up, and I tested it, and it tests to be fine, I think. So I'm not 100% sure what the specs are in these, but both of these tested exactly the same. So I'm going to use one of these. It should be fine. Our manifold stuff that we put on yesterday is all hardened, and it is hard as metal. So I still need to file it down, but you can kind of see that it's built up on there and it is really stiff. So hopefully that will be okay. Alright, I got the distributor all back together, the points and the new condenser in there. I used the old bracket because the new one was not fitting very well. But everything's in there, and now if you rotate it, they actually open. So that's a plus. So now I gotta get the rotor and the cap back on, and this thing should be good to go back in there now. The only problem is I didn't keep track of where this was, so getting this timed right in there is gonna be an issue. So that'll be fun, and I'm not 100% sure of the firing order, but I can look that up. Alright, so we are working on getting the distributor back on. I have the #1 cylinder on top dead center on the compression stroke, and you can tell because there's a little ball. It might be very hard to see, but there's a little ball on the flywheel, and then you point the little pointer to that flywheel. We need to put the distributor in. You gotta get the oil pump lined up right, which it doesn't really matter where it's at, but because we can put the spark plug wires wherever, but we need to make sure this rotor is lined up with one of the points on the distributor cap. Let's see, so if I put it in right here. Oh, forgot the bolt in there. Screws in there. Now it might actually go down a little easier, maybe. There we go. Alright. And like I said before, this isn't the stock distributor. I don't know why, but everyone always removes these. My last one, my 1967 Land Cruiser, I had to buy the stock distributor for that too because somebody had removed it. It's really annoying because those are really expensive distributors. Which I did learn that this distributor is off of like a 1955 Chevy. I guess it could be off of any Chevy with this inline six, but This one I think I was going by like a Chevy truck, and it's off of their 235 cubic inch straight 6. All right, so I got that bolt put in there. Now I need to loosen this. Is it loose enough? Yes. Okay, now I can rotate the housing. Now that I can rotate the housing, I can get this on here, which you can basically see that it points pretty much straight to the top for this one. So I need that to be pointing straight at the top. So we just rotate this a little bit so it's pointing right up at the top. So that way, when this is on here, it'll fire on this one. So this will be our #1 cylinder. And I'm gonna leave that loose so we can rotate this if we need to a little bit. And now we gotta put our plug wires on, so we'll know that this top one is #1. And we gotta get our spark plugs in and manifolds on it. We got a lot to do still, so let's just get going. All right, now it's time. We need to file these ports down to make sure they're nice and flat. I have a file here, so I'm basically just gonna kind of lay it on here and file this down until it's smooth. The ports all came out good. This one came out nice and smooth. This one came out nice and smooth. Unfortunately, this one I didn't get enough material on right here, so it didn't actually file down very much. The bottom I think is fine, but right here in the middle and the top was still low. So I think I'm gonna put another coat on that and then let it sit overnight again. It's a bummer it takes so long to cure, but it said actually after 24 hours of sitting with a lot of heat, so like when it's running, it actually cures it even more, but you can't cure it that fast right away. So I'm just gonna get some more on there and then file it down tomorrow. All right, we got that all cleaned up here. I filed it down already and it's looking good. So we should be ready to put that manifold back on. I need to clean up this manifold though, because I haven't done anything with it yet, and I'd like to kind of get all the grease and stuff off of it. So let's do that now. All right, it actually cleaned up pretty nice. See a nice TEQ on there. I love those little symbols, the little Toyota symbols everywhere. The old TEQ. But yeah, those things are stamped all over the engine and everything, so it's pretty neat. Yeah, this got cleaned up really nice. I just need to clean off the mating surface here because there's still some like residue and buildup and stuff on there. But other than that, we're looking good. So I think that's about it. We need to get this put back on there, and then we need to plug all of these intake ports. Looks like we have 3, 1, 2, and then there's one on the carb here too. 3. So get all those plugged off because we're not going to hook anything up to them for now. That one's actually loose. Got to tighten that one up. But yeah, I think we're going to get this on the engine right now. Go from there. Alright, we got the manifolds back on. It's looking good. I do think we're still going to have some leaks though, just because you could almost move the gasket back and forth in there. So there's definitely going to be some leaking, but I tried my best, and I can always take this back off and add more of that filler too if we need to. But I'm really just trying to get this to start to see if the engine's any good. I mean, odds are it'll probably start. There's not really any reason it shouldn't. I don't know. This Land Cruiser, I still don't know if it's even worth it. I still haven't gotten any information on the title. It's been like 4 months, so I might need to get a hold of the DMV or whatever and actually go and see if that's still in the works. Yeah, I mean, as you guys know, this frame's rusted out. I don't know. It's just, we're just trying to get it to run. I understand this isn't technically the right way to do it. It should have been machined down, all that stuff. We're not trying to do a fancy rebuild. In total, I've spent about $150 on this engine so far, just for the gasket set basically. That's not including oil either. So we're just trying to make this super cheap, very, very cheap. So if we can get it to run, that's a win. Like that's gonna be great. So let's plug off these vacuum ports and then we'll get the carburetor on there. All right, well, I don't have anything to plug these ports right now, so I'm gonna have to come back later and do that. I just need to buy some hose or something that can go on there, but I don't have any hose right now, so I'll come back and do that later. Let's get the carburetor on here, see how that goes. Apparently we can't use this really thick gasket, so we're gonna go with this one. It's the same thing, it just has a couple of weird little things on it, but it should match up fine. Shouldn't get in the way of anything, so that's what we're gonna use. Alrighty, the carburetor is on and functioning. Nice and squeaky. Everything seems to be working fine, so yeah, I think now we need to switch to electrical. The electrical side of things on this side of the engine. So for starters, we're going to need some spark plugs, and I'm pretty sure the old spark plugs are not going to be any good. I might be able to clean them up, but they are really disgusting. So I might just buy some. They're probably not too expensive, but I don't think these are worth trying to get going. I went and picked myself up some shiny new spark plugs, so let's get these in there. Alright, all the spark plugs are on. Now we need to get the spark plug wires in there. So we need a longer one for number 1 cylinder. Alright, it goes 1, 5, 3, 6, 2, 4. So 1 done. 5. So we'll want this wire. 1, 5. 3 is going to be one of the tiny ones. 6, so we'll want a long one for that. And then 2, which will be this one. And then 4, which is the tiny one. Like that. So that should be the correct firing order for that, hopefully. We will see once we try to start it. Not quite sure how the solenoid's supposed to work on here. All the wiring on this is really messed up. So I'm just gonna, I cleaned off the solenoid on the starter, so I'm just gonna jump that. Whoa! Well, that was fun. That's what happens when you put a bunch of brake cleaner on there to clean it off. I do have fire extinguishers right over there just in case, so don't worry. Well, that was fun. I'm glad I got that on camera. Let's try it again. Yeah, see, this is smoking. I need to clean these terminals off. And then maybe we'll be able to get this to start. But it's not spinning the starter, but I think it's just we're not making good enough contact. Alright, it's turning over now. Let's get a coil in here, spray some gas in the carburetor, and see what happens. Alright, I just want to show you guys that we're getting spark. So I hooked up a wire to the starter down there. So I can just touch this on the positive of the battery and it'll turn over. And then I have the coil connected right here And then this is the positive for the coil, which this is supposed to have a resistor in line, so I don't know how good for it this is, but I'm hooking it straight up to the battery, just shoving it in here. And then you can see on the distributor, if I start it, it sparks. All of that said, we should have spark. I got the cap back on here. Now we have spark, we should have air, and plenty of it. So I didn't have anything to cap off these ports. So there's 3 huge leaks in the intake manifold right now. So if it does fire up, it's definitely going to be full throttle, and most likely it's not going to want to start because, yeah, there's just going to be too much air. But I'm going to throw a bunch of starter fluid down in here. I guess I could just dump it right in that hole. And then I'm going to keep the choke on the carburetor just to help a little bit maybe. And then we're just going to turn it over and see if anything happens. Yeah, if we get it to sputter at all, I'm going to be very happy. So let's get to it. That's probably fine. And then, here, I'll spray some in here too, just for good measure. Now we hook this up and see what happens. Yep, does not turn over fast. I'm going to try to hook up another battery in parallel with this one, just to give it a little more help. Alright, we got another battery hooked up here. Let's give it another shot, I guess. I don't know. I guess this is also the starter. Yeah, we're not getting anything. I'm not really surprised. There's a good chance it could be the timing. It's just really hard to do all this at once, and a timing light and stuff on there. I also don't know if these plug wires are any good either. I probably should have tested them as well, but maybe I'm going to pull a spark plug out and see if we have spark. Alright, I have spark plug just sitting here on the battery. Hopefully we can get spark from that. Yep, we're definitely getting spark. So honestly, I think the only other thing could be timing, which is not surprising. I was pretty sure I got it really close, but you never know. Alright, this is where we're at now. I was able to find a fitting that I could plug this port with, and then I salvaged this hose off of the brake booster here, and I was able to just loop that around to plug both of those ports. So we should have all the intake leaks fixed now. So what I'm going to do, instead of using carb cleaner, I'm going to pour some gas down the carb. I poured some gas into my little measuring cup here. So I really need one of those little squeeze bottles with the little plastic hose on it. Like, that would just be way better, but working with what I got. So I'm going to try to put some gas down here, and then we'll give it another try. Let's try that. Yeah, still nothing. Alright, so I'm thinking there might have been a little bit problem with the distributor where I had it located. It was a bit off and the points weren't gapped right. So I fixed all that. I read the manual and got it really close to where it should be, I think. So now we're going to try again, and hopefully, yeah. So I had to re-rotate the engine, get it top dead center on the compression stroke again, line up the ball on the flywheel, and line everything back up. But it's definitely different. I didn't read the instructions correct the first time, so it should be very close. So let's see if we can get something to happen now. I didn't put any gas in there, but I'm hoping there might be some left in there. I hear it sputtering. I'm gonna pour some gas in and see what happens. Let's see, I need to mess with the throttle. Alright, let's see what happens. And it really sounds like it wants to start, but it's not really popping or anything. It just kind of sounds like it rotates quick. Alright, I let the batteries sit here and charge up. There's two of them connected together. They're both fully charged now. So I'm just hoping that if we can get it to spin over quicker, that will actually fix our problem. So it's the only thing I can think of. So let's see what happens. It definitely starts to like try to turn over. It kind of like barely pops. I don't know why it won't just go though. I really think it'll start though if we get enough cranking power. It just seems like it's starting to sputter, but it just won't go. We just got fire out of the exhaust. It actually sounds like it's going. It's definitely sputtering a lot more now. It's definitely starting to fire. We're making progress. I don't want to crank on it too much and get that starter too hot. It's old and I don't want it to break, because if it breaks, I'm probably not going to be doing anything else with it. Yeah, it's getting warmer. It's not hot yet, but it's definitely warm. Let's see if we wait long enough. Holy cow, we got it. Holy cow. Likes to wait. It doesn't like to just fire right off. Alright, I took the valve cover off because I want to see if we start getting oil coming out of here once we do get it running. So let's see what we got. Well, that's definitely the best we've gotten so far. I don't know what that means. That's quite the backfire though. That's something. One more. Still not getting any oil up to the valves. popping back through the carburetor. I don't think I'm seeing any oil up here yet. I don't know. Oh man. It ran though. It ran. I need to get an oil pressure gauge, I think. Well, we need to get an oil pressure gauge because I don't know if it's getting any oil pressure. I haven't seen any oil up in the valves yet, even with those couple of runs. That one, it ran for quite a while, but we got it running, and that was the goal. The carburetor probably needs to. There's a lot of things that still need to be done, but I achieved my goal for this winter with this project. It ran. Not great, but it ran. So honestly, that's probably going to be it for this year. Maybe this next coming winter we'll work on more, but that was my goal. I don't want to spend any more money on it. Thank you everyone for watching, and hopefully we'll see you in the next one.